H.10.1 Scatter plots. I can plot ordered pairs on a coordinate grid representing a relationship between two data sets. Vocab, a scatter plot. Scatter plot is a graph in which the values of two variables are plotted. There we go. Along two axes and the pattern of the resulting points revealing any correlation present. We'll be talking more about correlation tomorrow, positive, negative, no correlation, whatever it might have. Second vocab, bivariate, meaning bi, like a bicycle, two. You're talking bivariate data involving or depending on two variables. So basically our x and our y, because we're dealing with our coordinate plane. All right, scatter plot, bivariate data, going to the next page. Example 1 says use the table of data to make a scatter plot. Well, first of all, we have to give the scatter plot a title, and we have to label the x-axis and the y-axis. It says the following table compares the number of stories of a building to the height of the building. So first of all, when they give you a table, here's all our data. Your input, your output, your x and your y. So it's pretty easy to label our horizontal and vertical axes. Which one is my vertical axis, my x or my y? The y is my vertical axis. What do you want to label this? Give it a title label. It is stories. So this is how many stories high it is. Nope, that's how many stories, like floors, 10 floors, 20 floors, 30 floors. What do they go by on intervals here? They go by 50s. All right, what are we going to label our x-axis, the horizontal axis? Is this what you want? I'm doing what you're telling me. Is this what you want me to do? Like that?
How come?
Is that what you want me to do? Does that match?
No.
No. What did happen? X, our stories, X, oh, whoops. See, they have to match your data, your graph that's given to you, okay? Now what should it be? What do you want to go here on the vertical axis? On your y-axis, what do you want to go here? There we go, height. But not just height. Yes, height in meters. We've got to have a little detail. And right here it tells us height in meters. So we know what these represent. Meters, feet, yards, but we know it's meters. So now what does the x-axis get? That's our stories. How many stories high is the building? What interval does that go by? 10 also. All right, and they both start at 0. What quadrant of the coordinate plane is this that we're working with? The first quadrant. What would be a constraint? You're just tested on those. Can you have negative stories? Can you have a negative building in negative meters tall? No. So that's why you only need the quadrant 1. All right, so now we go ahead and give it a title overall. What do you want to title this overall? At the top, what does it say? The following compares stories of buildings and their height. What do you want to put on there? Buildings what? Buildings, stories, what? Compared to what? We're comparing their number of stories to their what? To their height. Now we get to plot them all. 110 to 442. Well, it's easy to find 110. That's right here. But then you're going to have to kind of guesstimate. Go all the way up here to 110. And, well, halfway between 400 and 450 is what? 425. We need to go to 442, so you're going to want to go up just a little bit more and put your point. And go ahead and, that one's done. Go ahead and plot the rest of them. Okay, hopefully when you get them all plotted, do they match mine? How'd you do? Pretty close? So what can we tell by kind of just looking at this? Or the more stories that we would get, what would happen? The taller that the buildings would get, what would happen? The more stories, the taller the building. It rises. That's a good word. Does it kind of go in a, what motion? We're going to be talking about tomorrow, this correlation. It's a word. It starts with a P. Say it louder. Excellent. Positive correlation. Now on this one, we have to label it, and we have to go by intervals. What do you want to do? The following table shows the heights in inches of players of a men's high school basketball team and their shoe size. Make a scatter plot of the data. Use the horizontal axis to represent the height. Use the horizontal axis to represent the height. Which one is that? The X or the Y? The horizontal axis, is that your X or your Y? Horizontal axis to represent your height. The what? Okay, now this one says use the horizontal axis to represent the height. So this one's going to be our, what? X? And what will this one be? Now this one's going to be our Y, so it's kind of like the backwards day here, isn't it? So we want the height to go down here. Height in what? Yep. Height in inches. Our vertical axis, what do we want to do that? Shoe size? And what kind of title? You're going to have to give some detail here because there's a lot to this one. Men's high school basketball shoe sizes. Okay, perfect. Now let's set up our intervals. Now the shoe sizes right here. What is the smallest one that we're going by here? 10. Our biggest one is 15. So what do you want your intervals to go by? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we won't have enough. Yeah, 2 would be a good one to go by. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. What do we want our intervals for our height to go by? 10s? Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. Now we need to do what? Plot them. But what do we have to be careful now? We don't go 11 and 67. We don't find an 11 in here and go, oh, it's backwards now because they wanted the height down here. So you have to go what? 67. You have to flip these. 67 and 11. 67, well, halfway is 65. Go a little bit further and go all the way up to the halfway point here. Oh, right there, look good? 67 and 11. Then what? 68, 10 and a half. So about 68 and 10 and a half. About right in there, I suppose. They're kind of close, aren't they? 68 and 10, so one right below it. 70 and 12 and 70 and 13. 70 and 12, 70 and 13. 71 at 12 and a half. Wow, this is close. And then 71 at 14 and a half. 72 at 14 and a half. And the last one, 73 at 15. About right there. Alrighty, so they all look pretty good. Let's try this one. Let's answer some questions about this graph. What information is shown on the horizontal axis of the scatter plot? First of all, which one is the horizontal, the X or the Y? The horizontal is the X. So put an X there so you remember. You can look back at your notes and know, oh yeah, that's the X-axis. What does it tell us? The X-axis represents the?
Year.
Yep, the years. What information is shown on the vertical axis, your Y? Rainfall what? Yep, you have to tell me that. Rainfall in centimeters. Now, give me a sentence, just a short sentence describing what does the point 2004-32 represent? 2004-32. So this point, on your worksheet it asks you to do the same thing, but there's not a point exactly like that on there, but you could put a point and tell me what does it represent. Like if they said 2005-20, what would that represent if there was a dot there? Well, what does this one represent? Start out the word in.
2004.
In 2004. Who's they? Tennessee. Got what? So we described our X first. Got what? 32. 32 what? Centimeters of what? Of rain. And that describes it perfectly. In what year did Tennessee receive about 26 centimeters of rainfall? Blurt it, whoever sees it first.
2007.
Yes. About 26. That's about 26. Halfway is 25, so it's going to be this one in the year 2007. How about this graph? What information is shown on the horizontal axis, the X-axis? The what? Time in minutes. What information is shown on the vertical, the Y-axis? Depth in centimeters. Okay, now what does the point 8 and 18 represent? 8 and 18. Yep, this one's on the graph, so they're talking about that one right there. What would that tell us?
19 centimeters of rain.
How about after? I'll start out with after, because we want to kind of, makes it easy if you describe the first one first. After what? After, what is this one? After, good, after 8 minutes, what happened? What about 18? Just put 18, after 8 minutes, 18?
After 8 minutes, the depth of water was.
Yes, after 8 minutes, the depth of water was 18 centimeters, period. At what time was the depth of the water approximately 41? The depth approximately 41. A little above it would be what? This one, which is 20. 20 minutes. All right, yeah, this you're gonna like this unit. This is fun, all right? It's easy. So in your new packet, I'm going to hand out pages 1, 2, and 3.